I recently witnessed something amazing that I want to share with anyone who is struggling with anxiety, because I think this story will not only inspire you, but it will help you to understand what it takes to beat anxiety and help set realistic expectations for your anxiety recovery. For confidentiality reasons, I'm going to change the name and some minor details of the story, but the story is not exaggerated in any way. One of my very early anxiety clients was a guy that I will call Carl. Carl had been diagnosed with panic disorder and agoraphobia as a child and was still suffering in adulthood. Carl was probably the most severe case of panic disorder I had ever seen. He rarely left home because the panic attacks had become so bad. Naturally, Carl could not work, as even if he did leave home, it was never more than a few streets away, and driving or public transport was just terrifying to him. He had dozens of safety behaviours to try to protect himself from panic attacks. Carl lived in a very small bubble. Over a period of around 6 months, I taught Carl the principles of CBT, focusing particularly on reducing his many safe behaviours and doing graded exposure. The graded exposure was slow and difficult. Just getting Carl to the end of his road took many attempts and a lot of encouragement. There were good days and bad days, but Carl had a steely determination to push through. By the end of the 6 months, Carl had made some progress. The panic attacks had not stopped. He still had a lot of safety behaviours, and there were still plenty of places and situations that he avoided. But he had less safety behaviours than when we started. He was getting less panic attacks than before, and he was venturing out and doing a lot more things than previously. Carl's bubble had got bigger. It would be easy to look at this as a failure, as he was still having panic attacks, and he still had a fair amount of avoidance. But given the severity of Carl's anxiety, and having had it since childhood, what Carl had achieved was actually pretty good. That's where my intervention ended, but the story didn't end there. Over the next 20 years, I was able to observe Carl's progress through occasionally meeting him socially and through his social media posts. Over this long period, I noticed a gradual transition that is nothing short of amazing. I noticed Carl's bubble growing. He was venturing further and further from home and started going on holiday, albeit usually to the same places where he felt comfortable and were not too far away. But as the years went by, he holidayed further afield, but still in the UK. He'd also started working and had held down a steady job for a few years now. Carl didn't look like someone who had panic disorder and agoraphobia, but although I never asked him, I'm pretty sure he still had the occasional panic attack, as occasionally I would spot a few residual safety behaviours. Then, just a few weeks ago, I noticed on Carl's social media pictures of him and his family in America, which was truly amazing. The guy who had once struggled to reach the end of his road or get on a local bus had sat on an aeroplane for 9 hours and flown to another continent. Since returning, he has booked another trip, this time to Japan. Carl's bubble is probably now bigger than mine. What Carl has achieved is amazing considering how severe his anxiety was and how young it started. To my knowledge, he's had no more therapy since the 6 months that I gave him 20 years ago. This guy achieved all of this on his own. So what can you learn from what Carl achieved? Well, you have learned that it takes time, patience and determination to beat anxiety. But importantly, you've learned that you will need to experience anxiety to beat it. When Carl first walked to the end of his road, he would have been anxious, but I bet he thinks nothing of it now. When Carl first started working, I bet he was really anxious, but now probably thinks little of it. When Carl first went on holiday in the UK, he would have been anxious, but has been back many times since with little or no anxiety. Getting on an airplane is terrifying for many people with panic disorder because there's no escape. You can't ask to get off if you have a panic attack. I bet Carl was terrified when he flew to America. But what did he do when he got back? He booked another flight because he knew it would be easier next time. I called this video Anxiety Never Goes Away But. So now I'm going to finish that sentence. Anxiety never goes away, but as you grow, only new experiences make you anxious. You see, when you stop thinking about how can I stop my anxiety and start thinking about how can I have a better life, the anxiety will get less and less as you grow. If you want to have a better life but don't know how to, check out my Beat Anxiety Forever playlist, where you can learn the CBT principles and tools that you will need. It will get you off to a good start, and the rest is up to you. Carl did it, so can you. Take care now.